My youngest used to look at my eyes to see whether I was drunk, and if so, how drunk. I grew up with alcohol being a really negative thing. One of the most important things for me is to break that cycle of addiction. It stops with me. Looking back on my experience at Priory, it's not overemphasising it to say that it saved my life. My name's Helen and I'm a recovering addict. I experienced Priory care when I came to the end of being able to cope with my addiction to alcohol. I didn't know what to do. I felt desperate and I knew that I had to get help. Now, today, I feel that I have freedom. I'm so happy. I'm genuinely full of gratitude for every single day. And I do feel that every single day. My early 20s were spent working really hard and going out with my friends and partying. It was a really good time, actually. Then I met my husband. He was just a really lovely person. It was a different kind of relationship that I'd ever had. It was safe and secure. We got married in 2004, and then our first son came along in 2005, and then our second child came along in 2008. And I was very conscious of the fact that I didn't want to repeat my family experience. So I tried to ace it as a mum. I was seeking perfection. I just wanted to give them what I didn't have. We had a really lovely, lovely life, good friends, really beautiful house. Boys started school. I was on the PTA and I was a really stand-up member of the community. And yeah, for a while there, life felt really perfect. So my husband was totally focused on providing for the family, which meant a lot of time away from home. I was focusing very much on bringing up the children and homemaking, literally pouring all my energy into that. And I think my husband and I lost sight of each other, and I was becoming quite lonely and quite unhappy. Then wine o'clock was introduced to me. So it would be maybe have a glass of wine in the park after school when the children were playing, and that was acceptable. On a Friday evening, come round and feed the boys at so-and-so's house and have some wine. And it started to sort of feel really nice and carefree, and the whole kind of drudgery would be lifted. And then it became, you know, a glass of wine at bath time or a glass of wine while I was making dinner. And that I can pinpoint as being the start of the slope that I was going down. I started to depend on a glass of wine, and it was becoming more than a glass of wine. I'd go to the supermarket and buy a bottle, and that bottle would be gone by the end of the evening. I went from buying one bottle to two bottles, but hiding one bottle. And then I knew that I had a problem or a dependency, but it wasn't affecting my functioning during the day, so I was just carrying on. And that's how it progressed. It was a daily battle for me to stay sober. I tried to hide it. I would put it into a mug. I was buying boxes of wine because they were easier to conceal. I became really sneaky. And then it started to become a problem when my husband would confront me the next day. I didn't want to get any kind of negative feedback from him about it. I just waited until he'd finished, and then I'd be able to get on with my day and look forward to my wine in the evening. My youngest used to look at my eyes to see whether I was drunk, and if so, how drunk. I would turn up at parties or dinner parties, drunk. And obviously it didn't go unnoticed. A couple of friends tried to intervene and tell me that I've got a drinking problem. And I reacted by cutting off all contact with them. So this is what my addiction was doing. It was literally isolating me from people who loved me. I was living two lives. One was in the shadows, really sort of secretive behaviour, and one was still trying to be a respectable mum. What I now know is a rock bottom for me was when my husband and my sons had gone away. I relished that because I was going to be able to drink without hiding it. So I went and bought wine, and the first couple of glasses were amazing because it was, I was able to kind of just leave the glass there and go and pour myself another one when I wanted it, and I felt like a grown-up. And then I don't remember much after a couple of hours. I woke up the next day and I actually thought I was dying because I felt so wretched. So I managed eventually to make it downstairs and realised that boxes of wine came in quantities of 4 bottles, and I'd got my way through 4 bottles that night. And something in me snapped. And I remember just being in tears for the rest of that weekend, and thinking, I need help and I can't do this on my own, and I can't do it half-baked. I've got to do it, and I've got to do it now. It's scary how low I had to go. I had to drink enough to make me think that I was going to die, to galvanise myself into thinking that I need help. Then my husband and my sons came home, and I said to him, I need to go to rehab. I need to get some help. And I'll never forget the look on his face, because he was relieved. And he thought I was going to die. In my worst moments, my behaviour could have killed me. And that is really worrying for him. I really had to get there myself. I had to get to that realisation. I sat down with my children to tell them, and they were like, oh, great, okay. That's brilliant, Mum. Oh, you're going to go and get better. That's amazing. That's really good. They were just really happy for me. Like, well done. So that was it. And I just remember packing the bag and then going the next day.
It's lovely to see you as always, and actually, yeah, nice to see you in a different environment.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I came to try and induct you, or no?
No.
You were just very distraught, very tearful, and then I remember being really worried about whether you would stay because you were really distraught when I approached you, and then I had some time off, and when I came back to work it was like a different person, and I just remember thinking, she's going to be okay.
Did you think that?
Yeah.
Aww. It took a good few days to kind of thaw out. I thought that going into a treatment centre was 28 days later, you come out and you're fine, because I just thought I needed to put a gap between me and alcohol.
In the early days of being there, I threw a couple of tantrums.
I was very resistant. I remember I wouldn't participate in the art therapy, and I had a strop. And then I remember one of the therapists saying to me, you can be here, but no one's keeping you here. But if you're going to be here, you have to trust the process.
Addiction can be very isolating, it can be very shaming, and it's kind of learning to almost push through that and break that cycle of keeping things secret and starting to communicate.
And I remember from that day on, I committed to it and just decided to get better.
Part of what we tried to offer to Helen was a safe environment where she could start to explore her addiction primarily, but also looking at kind of her childhood experiences, how that had impacted her growing up, how that had impacted her view of alcohol, the way she used it, the relationship she had with it, and also how it had then impacted the next generation as well, and how can they break those cycles.
I remember having to write my life story, which was really hard, and then you have to read it out to everyone, which was really hard.
Working through my childhood trauma, and that was something that I hadn't even recognised.
My earliest memories were just unhappy. It wasn't a loving home. My mum and dad split when I was about 7, and the relationship that we had with him deteriorated into nothing.
My mum was stressed a lot of the time, very stressed. And I guess that had a knock-on effect on me. I can remember comforting my little brother, and at the time I was only 7, but I had taken on the responsibility of making sure that he was okay.
It's almost being a parent when you should be a child, really,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Then she met my first stepfather, who was an alcoholic.
He was very violent. He was always beating my mum up. Yeah, and it just got worse and worse and worse. It was a really tense, horrible atmosphere. He sexually abused me when I was around about the age of 11 till about 12.
It was really traumatic. I remember dreading coming home, and I would never have friends back after school because I felt ashamed.
Is it going to be safe? Isn't it going to be safe?
Is there going to be a drunk stepfather making inappropriate comments? And is my mum going to be crying? Is she going to have new bruises?
He one day beat my mum up so badly that, we had to go and live in a refuge for women. And I'll always remember the shame of being pulled out of my class at school.
And by this point, my mum was drinking for her own reasons. She became really irritable when she was drunk. I just have the memory of her being angry all the time. I was just worried about everything all the time, and I didn't feel safe.
And I guess alcohol's always around.
I grew up with alcohol being a really negative thing.
There are studies that show actually family members that grow up in a household where there is addiction are up to 4 times more susceptible to developing addiction themselves. And actually, it's about breaking the cycle, and it's not about blame. Sometimes the illness runs through the family in varying degrees, and how, families can start to recover and change can be broken. And I think the life story is a really important part of looking at whether it's kind of addiction in the family or other traumas.
What I was addicted to was a symptom of all the pain and trauma that I was in.
Yeah.
Then starting to unpack all that and starting the healing process.
First of all, by writing my life story, that was therapeutic in itself. Having other people hear it made me realise that I'd minimised it, that I really had a really terrible childhood. Priory helped me feel safe and secure, and they helped me to rediscover in a healthy way and in a healthy environment emotion. So when I gave my life story, I felt distressed, really, really sad, really upset, really ashamed. Some of the things that I was reading out to a bunch of people that I had done in active addiction, but it was just met with love and acceptance.
I remember how honest and brave you were in your life story, and throughout treatment really, but particularly in that assignment.
And everybody in those group therapy sessions could relate. They're like, oh yeah, me too. It was really cathartic. Everything just came literally gushing out of me. And I got to a point where I really enjoyed the group therapy sessions, and I formed a really strong bond with everybody. That was the time of day that I enjoyed most.
Yeah, and I guess as well, it kind of fosters that testing ground to explore relationships with the community and your peers, and then it enables you to put that into practice with family when you're talking to them in the evenings.
I remember putting into practice one of the communication sessions with my husband and then thinking, blimey, this stuff, it really worked. And I had a constructive conversation with him. I didn't get upset, there was no blaming.
It really benefited my husband to be able to talk to my therapist at Priory, and he learned to separate the addict and the addictive behaviour from me.
Two of the main ingredients for ongoing recovery and healing within the family is really time and consistency. So when family members see change over time and consistent change, they start to begin to trust and heal themselves, and they start to begin to allow the person back into their lives.
My relationship with my now ex-husband is really, really healthy. One of the most important things for me is to break that cycle of addiction. It stops with me. And to do that, I knew that I had to get better, and I had to show my boys that, okay, I've got a really big problem. I'm willing to solve it. I'm willing to do the really, really hard thing of going away from you and getting better, and that will allow me to be a better mum.
What are things like now with the children?
They've changed. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Sorry.
Okay.
My boys are proof to me that I've done a really good job as a mum.
I am the best mum for those two human beings that there could ever be. I feel really proud of myself for breaking the chain of addiction. I'm so happy for me, and I'm so happy for them.
Mum's now stable, mum's now safe, home's safe. Because I was thinking back to when you were a child, you didn't have that for various reasons. Yeah. And actually now, your children, although they're kind of growing up, they have that.
They definitely have that.
And that's kind of breaking that cycle of addiction, isn't it? I think personally for me as well, it gives some purpose to my role when I see Helen change and heal. It's just really rewarding and actually really touching to see how recovery impacts families in a really positive way, and how hopefully it starts to break the cycle of addiction, certainly within Helen's family and within other families as well.
Looking back on my experience at Priory, it's not overemphasising it to say that it saved my life. It has allowed me to have the kind of life that I really want to live. My future looks long. I got there through the help of my therapist, the team at Priory, the doctors at Priory, the kitchen staff at Priory, my peers there, even the receptionist I had a bond with, because literally everybody is so lovely. It's just a place that for me was just filled with love, and that's what I needed. It's given me the ability to live a life that's free.
Start your recovery with Priory. To learn more, visit priorygroup.com/break the chain.